Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having an awesome, what day is it? Thursday? I think it's a Thursday, or is it? Yeah, it is a Thursday. Week's going by really fast. Thank goodness it's going by this fast so we can get this storm done and over with, right? Because it's a big time disruption to our daily lives here across much of the US. So let's see what we have here in the chat. I'm going to start from the top. We have Laggin, Jake, Caleb, as well as Oversteer. Also have Road, Christian, Chris, Catman. Catman, hope you feel much better tomorrow. Definitely not fun having food poisoning. Haley, welcome to the stream. Glad to see you in here. Powell, Ripper, Alt, Jessica, and Sandy, and everyone else in the chat who I may have forgotten to welcome. Or if you're just now tuning in and not chatting, glad to have you here. Hopefully you're having an awesome Thursday. We've got a lot to discuss, including another northern trend. Unfortunately, to be honest with you, it is an unfortunate event. A lot of us are going to be dealing with a crippling ice storm as opposed to the very wishful and hopeful snowfall that we were really hoping that this storm would bring across many areas. Really hoping it would have been more snow than ice, but as you saw in the background on this model run, half is ice, half is snow. So a lot of those totals further to the south in areas like Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, central southern Oklahoma, most of Georgia, if not all of Georgia, South Carolina, all of South Carolina, all of North Carolina, almost all of Virginia, much of West Virginia. A lot of those areas that were expected to get snow, just a couple days ago, have really turned into just complete ice. And if you were never expected to get snow, maybe it's now turned into snow. Like, for instance, Chicago's way up there. We're talking about going into southern Wisconsin, and we could be seeing some hefty snowfall totals that far to the north, substantially further north than what we were talking about yesterday. So a lot of uncertainty, a lot of models to discuss and go over, a lot of stuff to take a look at now that we are about, give or take, about really honestly, a day and a half, 2 days away from this winter storm beginning out there in western Oklahoma. It actually begins, in about a day, right about a day from now. Thank you, Sandy, for the $5 donation. I'll go ahead and look at that real quick. I kind of want to yap on a little bit more before I get into forecasts, but because you sent a donation, I'll go right to it for you. So you're in north central Tennessee. Honestly, you've trended towards more of ice. I really wish I could say snow for you, but the first bit may be snow. This first bit in here, sorry, that was me trying to figure out where the timing is. This this first bit right in here going into Saturday morning, that might be snow. Then you might change going into Saturday afternoon into a bit more of sleet and snow. And then going into Saturday evening, you're probably going to turn into ice. And then the second system rolls through. This is kind of like a 1-2 punch system. The second part of this storm comes through, and you end up with pretty much sleet and freezing rain all day Sunday. You're just all freezing rain and sleet. That's really what it looks like for that area. So a lot of freezing rain and sleet. And it depends exactly what you get. If you get sleet, that's going to be less impacts and more playable stuff. Like it will be kind of like a lower end snowstorm if you get sleet as opposed to snow. And then also if you get ice instead of sleet, you're looking at higher impacts. So I doubt it will be all snow, but what we're hoping for is that sleet will be the main issue here. Because if it is all freezing rain, that's a huge problem. So again, snow at first, a little bit more of a mixture into sleet, and then going into mainly freezing rain and still a bit of a mix of sleet. We've really pushed pretty far north. Now, we won't know for sure where that line sets up until probably Sunday early morning. We won't know where that line sets up. It's really a 1-2 punch. This is one winter storm in itself pushing through. We've got a 1-2 punch here for the U.S. We got this first storm that rolls through Saturday, beginning tomorrow, actually. So late Friday into Saturday. And then by the time you get into Sunday, that's out here in the mid-Atlantic. And then the second punch, the much bigger punch, comes through going into mainly Saturday and Sunday. And that's your major, huge winter storm. And then just look how they merge. They merge together. This is like a merging winter storm. You've got Winter Storm 1 and Winter Storm 2, and they merge together to create one ginormous winter storm across like the entire central and southern United States. And then even also going into Sunday, notice how big this warm sector is. We're going to be talking about heavy snow on the north side, sleet in the middle, freezing rain, crippling ice storm a little bit south of that sleet. And then we're talking about severe weather. Now that we have seen such a northern trend today, that we are confident that we will have the chance for a couple of severe storms across this area Sunday. We will most likely have the opportunity for a few severe storms, including a tornado being possible going into Sunday. That's how far north our storm has trended. So we'll need to keep an eye on that to see if it ends up becoming a problem or if it's just a lower end severe threat for those areas in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. But this is really the general idea. I do think this model could be a tiny bit too far to the north, but honestly, we have really trended further north throughout today. So if we take a look at our awesome map that we used pretty much all day yesterday, this is what we're looking at for ice. You'll notice right off the bat, two things. We've got a big area of purple back out here in Arkansas, northern Louisiana, Mississippi, even into Tennessee and Texas. And then you'll also notice the ice storm in the Carolinas has trended into more of my neck of the woods. So two things have trended further to the north, both of those ice storms. You've also will notice out here in Oklahoma, we took a look at southern Oklahoma yesterday, and southern Oklahoma was in like that yellow, maybe barely in the orange. Now you are well into that orange and red. So a lot of this storm has shifted even further off to the north. And even look at that. I didn't even see this yet. This is the average. The average amount of ice expected is 1 inch across much of central and southern Arkansas. Let's go to the high end. This is the 1 in 10 chance. So there is a 10% chance that the high end happens here. And I mean, we are talking almost 1 inch. Actually, we are talking about a 1 in 10 chance for 1.5 inches of ice across areas in south central Arkansas. And then back out here in my neck of the woods, we're also talking about the chance for 1 inch to maybe 1 inch and 1/10 of ice out here in North Carolina, Virginia, and even into South Carolina too. Do not underestimate the ice storm potential in this area. Do not underestimate it. We are talking about, I went to my local meteorologist, watched their discussions, and really dove deep into all the meteorologists and their discussions here in Southern Virginia and North Carolina. Most of them are in agreement that this will be the biggest ice storm since at least 2014. Most likely the biggest ice storm since I think 2002 is what they were saying for this area. So we are looking at like the biggest ice storm in 2 decades out in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and even into Georgia. Atlanta, a few people were here in Atlanta in the chat yesterday. You guys got pushed into that winter storm watch. Those watches are now all the way down into Carrollton, even as far south as Gray and Sandersville in Georgia. And we do have ice storm warnings out over here in Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. Those are ice storm warnings that have been issued today. More will likely be issued to the west and to the northwest as confidence increases. And then back out here in North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, we do have an opportunity, as Grumpy just said, that we will have a chance for sleet to actually save us from a big ice storm, especially once you get into much of the state of Virginia. But I do think we will see ice storm warnings out for portions of the eastern Appalachians here in Georgia, South Carolina, and especially North Carolina, and maybe even ice storm warnings going into central North Carolina as well. The only area where sleet could probably save us at is like northern Virginia. So if you are like north of Roanoke here, if you're really in central to southern Virginia, especially southern Virginia, we're talking about mainly ice and mixed precip. If you're in northern Virginia, we're talking about a lot of snow and then a transition into sleet and then ice. And then if you're back up towards like the capital in Washington, D.C. and back up here into far northern Virginia, you're talking about mainly snow and then transitioning into ice towards the end of the event. So overall, I am way more concerned for the ice potential than the snow potential here. Yes, the snowstorm is going to be significant, and it's likely going to break a couple of records for people, but I'm nowhere near as worried for impacts with the snowstorm as I am for the ice storm. And that's just simply because I'm here in the Mid-Atlantic, in the southern Mid-Atlantic here in Virginia, and I've also chased around the North Carolina area, even into South Carolina. I know how prone we are to ice storms. We can get catastrophic impacts at as little as like 4/10 of an inch, 3/10 of an inch. We could get catastrophic impacts. That's when it starts. A 1/2 inch of ice is crippling, and then an inch of ice would just be absolutely horrendous. It would cripple us for a week straight if we saw that in this neck of the woods down here in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, even into Georgia, especially even into Georgia. But I know a lot of you guys are here for snow totals. They've shifted to the north, like I said. But here they are. These are our new updated potential average snowfall totals. If you're in that orange, that's a foot of snow or more in that orange. And that stretches from northeastern panhandle of Texas through much of Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, much of Pennsylvania inside that foot of snowfall being possible. I'll just give you a big old circle here. This entire area is where we are looking at a foot or more of snow being possible here. A foot or more of snow being possible in that entire area, the entire state of Pennsylvania, almost the entire state of New York, the entire state of Massachusetts, entire state of Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, New Jersey, almost all of Maryland, almost all of West Virginia, and then you're kind of half and half for Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, depending on which side you're on. If you're in the northern half of Indiana and Ohio, you have a less chance for a foot of snow. The southern half, you have a higher chance for a foot of snow. And then, of course, back out here in New York City, like we talked about yesterday. Now, we have trended a little north of the capital here. Remember, yesterday, this red stuff was really in Washington, D.C. Now we've kind of trended back towards Pennsylvania, down into, or I should say Philadelphia. Southeastern Pennsylvania is what I was trying to say. Southeastern Pennsylvania, New York City, back in towards Boston. That's kind of the area that we have really shifted to for the potential of 15 plus inches of snowfall. A little bit north than what we were yesterday. Yesterday, it was kind of like down here. Kind of like right down in here, we were saying 15 inches of snowfall. Now we're saying like right up in here. So the reason why is because of, if we take a look back at our model run, we've shifted further off to the north with this second kind of snowstorm here. Like I said, it's kind of a 1-2 punch here. We get a 1 punch here and then a second punch with our main snowstorm. So just to show you again, we kind of get a pre-snowstorm and then our main snowstorm is back here and then they merge together. And so if we go up all the way to Sunday afternoon here, I do think that this area has a chance to, let me actually give you a thinner region. Right in here, we have a chance to shift towards ice and freezing rain for a few hours towards the end of the event. And that's what makes me think that that's probably not going to be the hot spot for up to like 20 inches of snow. It's going to be just north of that. So if you're in like right now, this could trend south. Very, very good chance it could go back south, honestly, because this is really far north. But like New York City should be straight snow. So honestly, like if we go to your high end in New York City is 28 inches of snowfall. 27, 28 inches of snowfall is your high end in New York City. Your average in New York City is just under or around 20 inches. And then your low end in New York City is a foot, right about a foot. So I don't know what they're forecasting out there, but I would expect about 15 inches of snow in New York City. And back towards DC, like I said, we've kind of downtrended a little bit back in DC. This says 16 inches of snow. Honestly, I think that might be on the higher side of things at the moment. I would say closer to a foot is more likely. I'm not too confident about 16 inches of snow being the average out here. It's coming in waves. Yeah, it really is, honestly. Coming in 2 waves. We're going to get kind of this precursor winter storm. Even if we didn't have a second wave, this in itself would be a pretty significant winter storm. But because we have that second wave here coming in on Saturday into all day Sunday, that's what's going to make this a memorable snowstorm, because all of this is going to merge with all of this and it's going to become one big snowstorm. Look at this. Sunday morning. This is Sunday morning right here. Actually, is this Sunday morning? The 25th is Sunday, right? Hold on, I should double check that. I'm pretty sure the 25th is Sunday. I'm just going to double check that so I don't screw everything up. Yeah. 25th is Sunday. So I've been saying this timing right. Okay. Just wanted to double check that. I was pretty sure it was. But just look at that, man. I mean, absolutely crazy. And you can see the National Weather Service is not really fully buying that far northern mode. If we go ahead and turn off this, you could see, well, actually they have pushed those winter storm watches pretty far north. They're not ultra far to the north, but they've pushed them very far north. Remember, like the watches stopped at like southern Ohio yesterday. So like they've added most of Ohio into those winter storm watches today. But they're not buying that full northern mode here to where like we see our heaviest snow potentially going even all the way up towards Chicago. They've not fully bought into that solution yet. And we do have another model run, the NAM model. I want to see if that's different much at all. I don't expect it to be too much different. So there's that first punch, which you can see that first punch is a lot more sleet. That's a big, big difference. If this first punch is a lot more sleet, that's going to really help with the overall freezing rain impacts. And we just simply don't know. We're kind of thinking a mixture of both. We're not thinking all sleet and we're not thinking all freezing rain. But you can see the NAM really does show more sleet than freezing rain at the moment. And then here comes that second punch. And you can see, my goodness, this one's really far north. This has the mix here going all the way up, even almost into New York City, if not into New York City. That's very far north. That is extremely far north here. And you could see that sleet for like my area, because we get a little bit more sleet, up to about 4 inches of just accumulation there on this particular run. And you could see even some accumulation down into South Carolina, because this particular model run shows more sleet than ice. If it's more ice in these areas, that accumulation is going to be, very, very, very low, probably closer to 0. But today they have pushed those winter storm watches off to the southeast in South Carolina, also to the south in Georgia. And I think they have pushed them a little bit more east in North Carolina as well. Pretty sure we've seen a few more watches in this entire area today. Much of that area, I think, has been expanded for winter storm watches in the last 24 hours. Do you think the NAM is overdone? I do. I don't have a lot of experience, and nobody has a lot of experience with winter storms of this magnitude. It's not often we get winter storms of this magnitude, so we don't really have like any awesome data to compare it to. But the NAM, I want to say, does often overdo the extent of our warm sector and of our warm nose. So it wouldn't surprise me if the NAM is overdoing how far north that sleet and freezing rain goes. That would not shock me at all. And the NAM's never been the best of models, so here's the snowfall totals. It's to be as expected, to be honest with you. It is definitely north. You could tell it is for sure north. But it does show the swath of a foot to even 2 feet of snow out in here, and then a continuation of a foot of snow even into Pennsylvania and New York. And I do think this is a bit too far north. And then there's that snow depth, which includes sleet. This includes sleet, which is why you see those snow totals, which are actually closer to sleet totals, going into Louisiana and Mississippi on this run. And that's the biggest question on this winter storm, and it's a very, very, very important question. Because, again, if we are talking about mainly sleet, we are lucky. If we are talking about mainly freezing rain, we are talking about a insane disaster for a winter storm. And it's just difficult for us to say which one's which. So right now, the National Weather Service is kind of half and half. Like if you go view a watch or a warning out here, if I go view the winter storm warning in Tennessee, I bet they're going to say both. Yeah, total snow and sleet accumulations to 2 to 8 inches, and ice accumulations up to 1/4 inch. So they're mentioning all 3 winter precipitation type modes in central Tennessee. And they may even keep that wording into like south central Kentucky. See if south central Kentucky has it. 8 to 13 inches of snow, heavy sleet, and even a light glaze of freezing rain. All 3, even into southern Kentucky, on this wording from this the National Weather Service out here. And that was, I think I clicked on like the warning near Bowling Green. Ice and snow don't mix well. Not at all. If you get both, that's how you lose power for days and even upwards of like a week, depending on how much it is. But you can also see those winter storm warnings. Remember, yesterday, Kansas City, you weren't even under a watch yesterday. Now you're under a warning. That should show you how far north this stuff has pushed. Which I'm not shocked. Honestly, I'm not shocked. I mentioned that before I got off last night. I said I expect a lot of watches and warnings to be issued in like this entire region in here. And I think I even went down into this area too. I'm pretty sure I was I'm pretty sure I cooked with that. I'm pretty sure I circled like this entire area in here. I don't know exactly where. I might have been a little bit more north than that, a little bit more south. It just depends on where those watches were. St. Louis should be all snow. I'm pretty sure St. Louis is like in a really good spot. Maybe the end of this turns into freezing rain, but St. Louis should be like all snow. If I can find precipitation type gracious day. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. That's what it is. I'm on a different model run. This is the model run I want. Let's go ahead and pull this out. It's got to load up all the frames because this is like 84 frames on a high resolution model run, so it's a little slow. Here it comes. Yeah, you could see St. Louis is like all snow. Yeah. Like all snow for St. Louis. What are they calling for? 5 to 10 inches with locally higher amounts possible. Yeah, that's very reasonable, but honestly, 5 inches is like an ultimate low end. With the northern trends that we've been seeing today, 5 inches is like the low end. The very, very, very low end. 10 inches is more like the medium here. I wouldn't be surprised tonight or tomorrow if they increase that wording to like 8 to 13 inches. That would not surprise me. By the way, if you're wondering why we've had these changes, the whole system has slowed down. If you're wondering why we've been having these big changes, the whole system on some of our runs has just slowed down a lot. So that's one of the big changes. And that's why confidence is higher than ever today in a big ice storm across these areas in here and back in here. Because this storm has slowed down. If you don't know what that means is we're going to have more time for cold air to get in here. So we're going to have more time for cold air at the surface to get down to these southern locations and warm air to be locked in the mid-levels. Like if I show you here, if this storm came in 12 hours sooner, let's kind of see the difference in some of these areas. Ignore those snowfall totals, by the way. I think I saw like a foot down in Mississippi or something on that. Ignore that. So if this comes in, which it's, back out in North Carolina, we'll use for an example. It's expected to come into North Carolina probably Saturday, late Saturday, like 00Z. So if it comes in at like 00Z, we're looking at about 22 degrees on the eastern Appalachians. If it comes in 12 hours sooner, let's go to about 12 hours sooner. You can see how close it is, right? This is closer to 18 hours sooner. Now you're looking at a little bit warmer. Not crazy warmer, but a little bit warmer. So this is like almost, in terms of that first main wave of snow, it's just in time cold air. But once that main wave comes in on Sunday, we are well into freezing. We are very well into freezing. And the GFS is still struggling. Like, look at that. We are not getting a foot of sleet in North Carolina. I don't care what model is showing it. If it's the best model ever that has 99% accuracy, there is no shot we are getting a foot of sleet in North Carolina. Do you realize how much precipitation that is? A foot of sleet. That would be like 3 inches of precipitation. Because sleet is typically a 3-to-1 ratio. Which actually, no, 15 inches. That's like 5 inches of precipitation. That is not going to happen. Even with all that sleet, it still delivers a major ice storm. Is that not like Atlanta right there? Like the GFS has like 2 inches of ice right on top of Atlanta? I don't think so. Let's go to what like the Canadian shows here. The problem is like the GFS is the only model run that has ice totals on this. This is the high resolution Canadian. And you can see here, if I go ahead and zoom in, we do start as some snow Saturday evening. This is a bit early. 3 p.m. we're starting with snow in Western Virginia. And then it turns into sleet overnight Saturday into Sunday. And it stays sleet for a while, and then for like about maybe 8 or so hours, the end of this is freezing rain. Yeah, right. Like, what is this, dude? 41 inches. Oh my goodness. See, we gotta beat some of these model runs. These model runs, we really gotta beat some of the terrible data out of them. Because what even is this? Once we get closer, hopefully we'll have more understanding on if this is gonna be sleet or ice. I agree with a part of this model. I think we'll start as snow, turn into sleet, but I think Sunday morning will be at freezing rain. I think freezing rain will be quite a bit sooner than what this model run has. This isn't the GFS anymore. This is the high-res Canadian model run. And if we go further west, I'm sure it's struggling out here too. Yep. It's not doing terrible, honestly. It's not doing terrible out here, but there's definitely some suspicious pockets where you get close to 2 feet of snow that I don't think's gonna happen. And if we go to snow depth, everything's further south. So, like, terrible. Terrible. Terrible consistencies between models. And this is also pretty far north, too. Yeah, this is also pretty far north with, like, the NAM model, so we've kind of trended even further north. Let's see the previous runs here. If it actually would show for, like, the... There you go. I mean, not too crazy of a difference there. That's the last 3 runs. Really no major changes. Let's go a little bit further out. I wish I could see yesterday's runs. That would help a lot more. Let me just go to yesterday's run. Oh, yesterday's run didn't go that far out. That's why. So actually, the Canadian model run was already pretty locked in on a northern solution yesterday. I think the GFS is too far to the south. Check the Euro. We got to go to Tropical Tidbits for that. Yeah, the Euro's not that far north with the more high resolution models. Look at that. It even turns. I don't know about that. That shows like a big time severe threat, by the way. If your warm sector goes that far north, that would be a pretty good severe threat. Can I look at temperatures? This is dew points. Look at that warm sector. Pretty good area right there. And then you got another kind of your weaker warm sector going up that far. But that would be a pretty decent area for severe weather. But yeah, it has us turning into rain towards the end of the event, which I don't know about that. Here's a big question. How slow is this? It's like right on time. Like, look at the differences between our models here. It's big. And also look at the precipitation type too. The pink is ice / freezing rain. The purple is sleet. So like the Canadian model run has sleet in this area. And our snow getting this far north. It's off the screen. The Euro has no sleet and all freezing rain in this area and generally agrees with how far north that snow goes. And then the GFS has your snow like stopping right in here and a mix of sleet and freezing rain. Mind you, I want you to realize something. We are 54 hours out and we have this big of differences on our model runs. We are only 54 hours out, dude. Which is crazy. Let me see. It's just weird that we have this much uncertainty. like 2 days out. But it's not just the GFS, y'all. Like it's also the euro too. Like the euro's no better than consistency with the GFS or the CMC. None of them are that consistent with anything. And the euro is probably overdoing moisture, or at least just the content of precipitation out in these areas. Because if you look at the CMC, there's an obvious gap. If you look at the GFS, there's an obvious gap. If you look at the NAM, there's an obvious gap. And if you look at, I don't know, what is the high-res Canadian, there's an obvious gap. And if you go back to the euro, it's all filled in. So, a lot of uncertainty there. There are AI models, but I don't have access to look at most of them. We could also go to like College Dew page again here to take a look at your GFS ensembles real quick. And you could see here, like those, if we go to the previous runs, they haven't changed a lot in the last day. They've been pretty and actually a southern shift in some areas. So it's just strange to see like the GFS is sold on this type of scenario where snow stays south, whereas other models like the European model run and the NAM and the RRFSA are sold on it being north, and the Canadian model run is kind of like in almost in the middle, if not maybe agreeing with the more northern solution. So that's your Canadian model run. Snow totals. That's your Euro. That's your GFS. Obviously, the GFS is a bit of a outlier with how far south it is. That's pretty obvious. But again, if I just show you the consistency, the GFS in the last 24 hours has been pretty consistent on a southern shift with some of these totals. Really looking at Illinois there, by the way, and Missouri. So that's why I just use this, which is the average between the models. So this is kind of taking into account both the Euro and the GFS and kind of putting out an average. And it really likes to use more of your ensembles. It carries more of your ensembles with weight. So that's why the average on this is more of 10 inches of snowfall. Whereas if you go to like the Euro shows like a foot. And the GFS shows like 6 inches, somewhere around there, 7 inches. So it kind of like takes those two models together and then averages it. But it more weighs towards ensemble support, less of those global models. GFS just shifted more north. Let me see. I mean, the GFS is probably going to shift a little bit more north over the coming days to kind of align with more of the Euro. Yeah, it did shift a bit more north. And that's because of this low pressure. That's all because of that low pressure. That low pressure is stronger on the new run. And thus it throws in more warm air and more moisture up into areas around that low. I'm also trying to look for like the angle here. Also like the angle of your freezing line too kind of changed to be a little bit more sharper on that new run. You can see the old one, it's right on top of that line, and the new one, it's changed a little bit more east. So notice how like on this new run, the warm nose in Georgia kind of shifts south. Definitely shifts south. But that low pressure is stronger off the coastline of the mid-Atlantic, so that increases a more mixed precipitation back up here. So it is a complex situation. 100%. It is a complex situation. And the National Weather Service knows that, which is why they are just saying like all 3 different types of precipitation for 50 plus million of people. And that's why these watches are just expanding more and more, because there's so much uncertainty. A little shift north, St. Louis ends up with a foot. A little shift south, you get 6 inches. A little bit more warm air into Tennessee, Kentucky, you're all ice. A little less warm air, you're more sleet. So it's such a fragile situation. That's how weather is. That's what weather is. It's so fragile. But this system has, like most systems, a lot of moving parts, but this one kind of has, honestly, more moving parts than most, because you've got a low pressure down here trying to develop, low pressure down here trying to develop, a high pressure up here, a high pressure up here, even maybe a little high pressure trying to move in behind here. So you've got a lot of fighting happening between these models, and a shift in any of those pressures shifts the storm. And also any change in how much warm air is being pulled up from the Gulf. All of those tiny little shifts changes forecasts. But the general saying is, the general idea and the general saying is a widespread, likely historic winter storm for generally these areas. Again, that could shift a little south or a little north, but generally in there. And then a widespread, potentially historic, likely crippling ice storm for areas further south. I got to get it set up, so just give me a second. There you go. Likely a historic, possibly historic, likely crippling ice storm for areas further south in like this region here. And it's hard to say exactly where in here, because this one is shifting a lot, but generally somewhere in here. This one is shifting a lot. This one is really locked in. So the one in Arkansas is locking in for a big time ice storm. And the one further east in the southern mid-Atlantic, you're looking at more uncertainty with that. Don't say southeastern Pennsylvania gets robbed yet. Maybe it does on a few models, yes, but we won't know who gets robbed until it's done. We're just looking at model run trends. It's not necessarily what's going to happen. These are just estimated projections of what's going to happen. They're estimated between all these model runs and the mean. It's not what's going to happen. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. Like I said, we can generally say for like those 2 areas there, if I just put this back on, in the black, we can generally say that's going to be, a major winter storm, likely historic for somebody in that area. And then in those 2 blue regions, we could say likely it's going to be a crippling ice storm, potentially historic for somebody. The snow side of things has a better chance to be historic, but the ice side of things has a better chance to be damaging. About snow totals and stuff like that, honestly, just go look at the National Weather Service for your local area. Really, that's the best thing you can do now. We are in range of where the National Weather Service is putting out their graphics. And although some of them are definitely way too conservative, that's going to update a lot more accurately than model runs. That's going to really update more accurately than model runs. For like my National Weather Service, from the graphics they've been putting out, it really seems like I've trended it a lot more towards an ice storm than any type of sleet or snow. Wait, what the heck? Let me take that back. They just put out their most aggressive forecast yet. They are now forecasting almost 8 inches of snow for me. Snow and ice, mind you. Snow and sleet. That was at 4 this morning. And now it's at 7.6. The opposite of 6.7. And just north of me is at like 8 plus. I'm like barely outside of that 8 inches of sleet and ice. Or sleet and snow. My goodness, I can't English. Oh, man. TRG, I hate this. I hate it too, man. Such a forecasting mess. Just a mess, man. TRG is going to lose power. We have prepared already for a week of power. A week without power. I've been doing it for the last 3 days with my family. We are prepared for a week without power. And we are also considering, honestly, I'm considering figuring out, if need be, where can we go to evacuate? Because we are in a very, 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 very bad spot. We in Martinsville, we are stuck on a elevated hill in Martinsville. So if we get ice, we are not only stuck from much of any great area of like Walmart or Food Line. We're close to it, right? Like it's not that far from us for the main downtown portion of Martinsville. The problem is we aren't going to be able to get there if it's ice. And not only that, another thing you seriously need to consider on your preparations for this snowstorm is the cold air behind it. In my neck of the woods, we are probably going to get wind chills into the negatives. And with no heat, we are going to suffer with that. That is going to be deadly for my neck of the woods. That will be deadly. So you also got to get that into consideration as well. And we're not expecting any type of warm up until probably the next. This is a snowstorm, by the way. Look at this. Look at that. We're not expecting a warm up for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Really, we're not expecting a good warm up for like the next 2 to 3 weeks. A warm up is like above 60 degrees, like the GFS. We don't get to 60 degrees on the entire GFS. We stay around freezing for the entire rest of January and even into the middle, almost into the middle of February. We are at freezing. So this stuff's not going to melt fast, man. It is not going to melt fast. I don't know if let's do the Canadian here. This is 2 weeks. Or is this 1 week? 7 days. This is like a week and a half. This is like a week and a half out. And look at all the snow that still remains. All the snow and all the sleet that still remains on this run. That's in like a week and a half, like 10 days out. It is 10 days out. That is exactly 10 days out, actually. That is exactly 10 days out. And the reason why it sticks around in this area more and this area more is because that's more sleet. Sleet sticks around a lot longer than snow. A lot longer. So if we get more sleet in these areas, which I doubt it, it's going to stick around longer. And if we get more sleet in these areas, which I honestly doubt it, it's going to stick around longer. I think this model run as well as the GFS are both overdoing the sleet totals. I think they are way overdoing the sleet totals for our main ice storm, and I think they are underdoing our ice totals for the main ice storm. Because you could see, like, this is where your main ice is on the GFS, but honestly, this is probably going to be more like in here. Like, that entire area has the chance for a crippling ice storm. Not just this tiny little corridor here that the GFS is painting. And then, yes, it's also painting almost 3 inches of ice over Atlanta. Which would be insane, but don't worry, don't worry. If you're in Atlanta, I don't think that's going to happen. I do not think that's going to happen by any means. But I do think you guys in Atlanta will have a very dangerous setup. If you can stay freezing rain, it's going to be very, very dangerous. And let me just show you, I'm going to be using the National Weather Service forecast here because, like I said, we are in range where honestly, you want to start using more of the National Weather Service. Look at your NWS forecast about every 6 to 12 hours and see which way they are trending. Are they uptrending on your totals? Are they increasing those snow amounts or those ice amounts, or are they kind of backing down from it? Another thing you could do is also read their discussion. So here's the chance here. This is the chance for, let me just zoom this in. This is the chance for 0.25 inches of ice or more. And you can see Atlanta's at about a 36% there. So areas really north of Atlanta have that best chance for a crippling ice storm, which is a half inch or higher, which if we go ahead and show that, a half inch or higher, this is probably barely going to fit on the screen there. There it goes. Half inch or higher really sticks to the far northeast counties. And, you know, you got a chance. You got a chance for a crippling ice storm out there in Atlanta, but the main chance is sticking to y'all's north. So just pay close attention to your National Weather Service over the next few days, your local forecast from your NWS, and see which way they are trending. That's the best thing to do. That's what I've been doing. That is what I've been doing. So we're probably getting close to wrapping this up. Honestly, we're probably getting close to wrapping this up. I'll likely do another one tonight. I'll probably be live tonight again. I don't know when. It may be a little late or it may be a little early. Yeah, we'll go for the 0Z runs. We'll go for the 0Z runs. We'll go for a live stream at 11. Yeah. We'll go for a live stream at 11. Or is that too late for some of you guys? What mods, what are you guys thinking? That a little too late? Maybe 10 Eastern time. Eastern time. Somewhere between maybe 10 and 11. That's what I'm kind of thinking. 10 or 11. Yeah. Too late for Sam. I'm probably gonna do 10 maybe. I'll see. Maybe a little later, maybe a little... we'll just plan for 10 to 11. Somewhere around there, okay? Somewhere around there. So... that way we'll have a little bit better data because this is the 18Z data, which is typically the least accurate between the 12Z and the 00Z. But yeah. Sorry, new forecast just came out from the Weather Prediction Center here. Just to show you this too. I just saw this, realized it would be a good idea to show y'all. So if you're in the pink, that's your freezing rain. That's your ice storm. Mind you, that's freaking half of the risk area. Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, even into Kentucky, West Virginia. Look at that. On the edge of Atlanta. On the edge of Atlanta. All of the upstate portion of South Carolina. Almost the whole state of North Carolina. Almost all of Southern Virginia, if not all of Southern Virginia, even into, and you'll see that, look at the two warm noses. You can kind of see the two warm noses here. You can see the two kind of warm noses that the NWS is pointing out right in here. Up in here and up in here. So they've really shifted that freezing rain more north. And then we got the blue, which is the snow. And notice how that doesn't yet go all the way up into northern Illinois. But it is a lot further north than their last update. That is for sure. So they are they're a little bit less, they're a little bit to the southeast of the Euro and the Canadian. And they're a little bit north of the GFS. They're kind of in the middle there, which is a really good forecast. But if you're in the blue, very heavy snow. If you're in the pink, ice. And if you are in like the middle of the pink, which includes, I don't think Legacy's in here, but that includes like these areas right in here, right in the dead center of that pink. That's where we got to watch for our Crippling Ice Storm. If you're in here, the circle's half the country. Yep. Model shifted north, not south. But all right, we're going to be back here probably between 10 and 11 for the new 00Z data from our blend of models and our GFS and GFS ensemble. So I look forward to seeing some of you guys later on tonight, 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. Eastern, somewhere around there. Pretty late live stream, but I think it's a good idea. So that is it for this live stream. Just a pretty quick one because I've got some stuff to do. I was busy in the afternoon. I'm a little busy in, from about 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So somewhere between 10 and like 12, honestly. I doubt we'll start at 12, but I want the start time to be somewhere between 10 and 11. Start somewhere between 10 and 11, hopefully end by 12. That would be really nice. I don't want to be live past 12. We got to stay energized here. Get your good sleep in now. Get your good sleep in now. And tomorrow, that's Friday, I should be able to do a live stream. I may do a video and a live stream. I'll see about a video, but definitely a live stream for sure. Saturday, your boy's cooked. I'll be either evacuating or hunkering down. So we'll see. Saturday's 50-50 on if I'll be able to live stream. That will just be pending on what the bottle runs show, because like I said, we're in a very dangerous spot. Now, if I do evacuate, I'm just going to go to a friend's house who's like literally like down the road. And that's about it. It's not like I'm leaving state or anything. It would just be a better location. That way I'm not stuck in like an elevated hill. So, yeah, I will catch you guys tonight between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern. Thank you much for my chat. I'll catch you guys pretty soon. Goodbye. Stay safe, watch the snow fall, and I'll see you guys in about 5 hours. Have a great rest of your night. Goodbye.